Good morning. We just finished up our meditation. We are on our live platform. Thank you for everyone that is here today, and thank you for investing in yourself. The only thing you could ever change is yourself. Everything that you see outside of you is a reproduction of your consciousness. And if we want to change what we see, we've got to work on ourselves. There is nothing outside of us that we cannot find within, that we could never find anywhere else other than in us. It is only by a change of consciousness, by actually changing your concept of yourself, that you can build more stately mansions. The manifestations of higher and higher concepts of yourself. By manifesting is meant experiencing the results of these concepts in your world. By manifestation, we talk about, and what we're really tuning into is what you've been doing all this time. You have been manifesting your reality. You've been creating your reality. But are you really doing it consciously? Or are you creating by default? Are you creating by the default of your belief systems? Really think about everything that has happened in the past. What we experience are the results of these concepts in your own special world, of which you are the center. It is of vital importance to understand clearly just what consciousness is. The reason lies in the fact that consciousness is the one and only reality. It is the first and only cause substance of the phenomena we call life. Nothing has existence for a man save through the consciousness he has of it. You see, we think. We come outside of our own consciousness. We reform. We induce. We create. We attract. We come out of our consciousness. And we use that to think. Isn't that amazing? Everything in your life is a manifestation of your consciousness. Isn't that amazing? That's right. Everything you've done till today was something that you've created. Something that you were thinking about. Consciously or unconsciously, you're the creator, you're the director, you're the artist, you're the screenwriter of your own movie. Now, if you want to change, you want a better life, you've got to look for people that are going to help you develop yourself. Change yourself. Yeah, that's right. The only thing you could ever do is change yourself. I remember many years ago, decided that I would work on investing in myself, finding the right people that have the right information, investing in myself, changing my consciousness, investing in myself, reading about myself, reading books about the self-image, reading books about the subconscious mind, reading books because I knew that was the only way that I was going to actually go beyond myself. If you want better results, you got to change you. If you want to go beyond conditions and circumstances, you've got to literally think beyond conditions and circumstances. And these conditions and circumstances will not change until you change. Setting goals, acting on the goal, creating a plan, consistently working on your strategy, testing your strategy, evaluating your strategy. You go and work it out. You go test it out. You get the feedback. The feedback tells you what you need to change. The feedback tells you what you need to go study. The feedback will tell you, look at the physical world as a literal feedback machine. It is telling you what you need to change. Look around. Look at the way you live. Look at how you live. Really get tuned into looking at yourself in the mirror and point at the man or the woman that has created this life. There's only one person that could help you. Go look in the mirror. That person has to make the first decision. And you can point at that person all you want. and get angry and upset with that person and say it's your fault. But at the same time, that's the only person that can redeem you. Set goals. A goal without a date is not a goal at all. Your goal needs to be clear, concrete. To a definite end. If you're not setting goals, your beliefs are the goals. Your belief systems become the goal. And that's what you keep attracting. All month, and every month, we're going through Napoleon Hill's Law of Success. And we're going through a definite chief aim, and now we're moving into this month, the ghost of fear. Which ghosts of fear have been holding you back from living the life that you desire? Which ghosts of fear do you keep thinking about that's keeping you stuck? There's a definite psychology behind belief and behavior, and that psyche is you. There could be no other way. There could be no other way. Now, I started to set goals, and I started to change my life. And by the setting and achieving of goals, little by little, I'm changing. I'm changing me. And by setting bigger goals, I'm going beyond what I would have ever done before. I'm literally going to go beyond what I have ever done before. And when you're setting goals that are further than what you know, you're going to grow. You're going to find out things about you that you need to change and that you need to let go. You're going to have to create new habits and behaviors, create a new strategy every day, and then think into that strategy to get more neurofeedback, more cognitive function, to tap into more infinite field of consciousness. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Yeah. And then you can tune right in and then act it out. And this is where you gain the experience of what that desire and vision really means. This we call manifestation. And you're doing it every day, all day long. The only thing is, your goal was your belief. And you've got that down pat by now. The power of self-reliance. Then and there I made up my mind that I too would stand in front of that same looking glass and point an accusing finger at myself for not having discovered the lesson which I had helped another learn. What we're learning is when you look in the mirror and you want to blame someone, you can never blame anyone. We can only blame the ideas that we use. And then we have to accept responsibility because it was us who done that. I'm going to read here a little bit about this story, and it's a really good story. And it shows how we think and what we can do. It is not unreasonable to expect that some statement, some idea, or some stimulating word of this reading course of the Law of Success will serve as the needed stimulus that will reshape your destiny and redirect your thoughts and energies along a pathway that will lead you, finally, to your coveted goal of life. It is strange but true that the most important turning points of life often come at the most unexpected times and in the most unexpected ways. I have in mind a typical example of how some of these seemingly unimportant exercises of life often turn out to be the most important of all. And I am relating this case because it shows also what a man can accomplish when he awakens to a full understanding of the value of self-confidence. The incident to which I refer happened in the city of Chicago, while I was engaged in the work of character analysis. One day, a tramp presented himself at my office and asked for an interview. As I looked up from my work and greeted him, he said, "I have come to see the man who wrote this little book." And he removed from his pocket a copy of a book entitled Self-Confidence, which I had written many years previously. It must have been the hand of fate. He continued, that slipped this book into my pocket yesterday afternoon because I was about ready to go out there and punch a hole in Lake Michigan. I had about come to the conclusion that everything and everybody, including God, had it in for me until I read this book. And it gave me a new viewpoint and brought me the courage and the hope that sustained me through that night. I made up my mind that if I could see the man who wrote this book, he could help me get on my feet again. Now I am here, and I would like to know what you can do for a man like me. While he was speaking, I had been studying him from head to foot, and I am frank to admit that down deep in my heart, I did not believe there was anything I could do for him. But I did wish to tell him so. The glassy stare in his eyes, the lines of discouragement in his face, the posture of his body, the 10 days of growth of beard on his face, the nervous manner about this man all conveyed to me the impression that he was hopeless. But I did not have the heart to tell him so. Therefore, I asked him to sit down and tell me his whole story. I asked him to be perfectly frank and tell me as nearly as possible just what had brought him down to the ragged edge of life. I promised him that after I had heard his entire story, I would then tell him whether or not I could be of service to him. He related his story in lengthy detail, the sum and the substance of which was this. He had invested his entire fortune in a small manufacturing business. When the World War began in 1914, it was impossible for him to get the raw materials necessary in the operation of his factory, and he therefore failed. The loss of his money broke his heart and so disturbed his mind that he left his wife and children and become a tramp. He had actually brooded over his loss until he had reached the point at which he was contemplating suicide. After he had finished his story, I said to him, "I have listened to you with a great deal of interest and could I help you? There is absolutely nothing I can do for you." He became as pale as he will be when he is laid away in a coffin, and settled back in his chair and dropped his chin on his chest, as much as to say, "That settles it." I waited for a few seconds, then said, "While there is nothing that I can do for you, there is a man in this building to whom I will introduce you, if you wish, who can help you regain your lost fortune and put you back on your feet again." These words had barely fallen from my lips when he jumped up, grabbed me by my hands, and said, "For God's sake, lead me to this man." It was encouraging to note that he had asked this for God's sake. This indicated that there was still a spark of hope within his breast. So I took him by the arm and I led him out into the laboratory where my psychological tests and character analysis were conducted, and stood with him in front of what looked to be a curtain over a door. I pulled the curtain aside and uncovered a tall looking glass in which he saw himself from head to toe. Pointing my finger at that glass, I said, "There stands the man to whom I promised to introduce you. There is the only man in this world who can put you back on your feet again. And unless you sit down and become acquainted with that man, as you never became acquainted with him before, you might just as well go on over and punch a hole in Lake Michigan, because you will be of no value to yourself or to the world until you know this man better." Now, here we come back to awareness. Where are you at in your awareness today? Where are you at in the awareness that if you want to change, it's you that has to change? And you've literally got to change yourself. And there's nobody in this world that can change you except you. Now, we have the programs that we've developed. We have the programs that have been doing wonders around the globe already. You've got to be willing to invest in yourself. And you've got to be willing to do the work, because nobody else is going to change you. Don't look to your brother, don't look to your sister, don't look to your aunt, your uncles, family members, because nobody can change you, and you know this. Do we have the information that can help you develop into the person you want to be? Oh, most definitely. We've seen people change, dramatic changes. We've seen people earning lifestyles they would have never imagined. What do you really want? When will the humility inside you be aware enough to say, it's me I have to change? When will the humility inside of you recognize that maybe you haven't wanted to change and you want to keep blaming the man in the mirror? You know, humility means you're aware enough to know when you're wrong, when your way's not working anymore. Otherwise, your ego stays strong. It knows what it's doing. And you keep living the way you live. Willing to change when your way's not working. It's the only way. Take a look at what we're doing. Send us a message. Send me a message. Change can start today. Bet on yourself. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Same can say to you.
Great day, everyone.